Oh my goodness. I have to say, this is the first episode that I'm recording without any pants on. I'm just saying, I just got done moving some stuff and it's hot in here. So, I mean, luckily y'all can only see from the or from the torso up. But I still got socks on though. I still
Yeah,
got
no,
socks
hey, yeah, you gotta cover the feet. You gotta cover the feet. It's necessary.
Got
It's
to. I just
necessary.
thought it was funny enough that I wanted to share. I just wanted to share. But I mean, speaking of sharing, we have an amazing guest on the show this week, Charles Agron, coming on to talk about his new film, Altered Reality. Man, oh man, this guy is an all-around filmmaker. Because I mean, if it's going down in the filmmaking world, the magic, as we like to say, he's creating that magic. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and I think he's the perfect guest for today since you just brought us into an altered reality in that intro. It's fantastic.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm hoping all of our guests out there are wondering what my legs look like. 'Cause man, oh man, are they pasty white?
Mine too. I too have no pants on, but I have shorts on. I'm not going to ask if you do or not, but yeah, from the waist down, it looks a whole lot different than it does from the waist up, and that's just the life of Zoom.
We love it. We love it. But hey, we get to do this fun stuff to where, hey, we don't get canceled for this type of stuff. I'm being completely honest about it. And here are my hands. I'll leave my hands up here the whole time. It's fine. It's fine. But guys, we have an amazing show for you. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the three biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching nonstop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Crazy Ant Farm. Holy moly, it is episode 251 of ITCAF Podcast. And you guys know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mal.
Yes, what's up?
Man, oh man, what a wild show it has already been. I mean, I can't even tell you. Can't even tell you. We had to cut some stuff because it's so freaking wild. We're crazy. It's in the name. It's in the name.
It is in the name, including pants. We cut pants. I mean, you know, we're talking about superheroes in tights. We're talking about suits. We're talking about Masters of the Air. And, you know, we may or may not have pants on while we talk about it. It's fine. It's okay. If superheroes can wear tights, that's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
So it's one of those shows. It's one of, I may or may not be highly medicated. Just a forefront for everybody. I'm not feeling too well today, and well, I might be feeling it.
Hey man, hey, we're here. We're here, right? I mean, it's all a part of the craziness.
Here,
it's all about the craziness.
I'll be a little less talkative and maybe a bit more smiley. It's fine.
Yeah, hey, that's fine. We love the smiley. We love the smiley. But before teasing the rest of this show, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast. Comment below and let us know what you actually think about the podcast, because leaving a rating on this podcast actually helps those see this podcast, basically, and especially for those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry and those who just enjoy entertainment news. Us here at ITCAF Podcast are your one-stop shop for entertainment news and guest interviews and all of the fun craziness that is Hollywood and the entertainment industry. But like Dustin said, we have a whole bunch to talk about. I mean, we'll be talking about the Fantastic Four, Superman Legacy, Disney, what's going on with Disney, and of course, everything else that's going down in Hollywood. ITCAF Podcast is your one-stop shop. But man, oh man, I'm super excited about it because there's a lot of good stuff. There really is. But of course, before teasing and before getting into the rest of the entertainment news, we got to talk to you about our merchandise. Be sure to head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear right now. We got shirts, we got hats, we got new merchandise available right here, right now. So that's why you got to head over there and just get a little crazy with us. Show the world that you are just a little crazy. It's okay to be a little crazy, just not a lot crazy, right?
No. And whether you choose to wear the pants you buy from our merchandise site or not is completely up to you. This is
That's
a
it.
no judgment zone. Like you are.
Exactly.
Buy them and go pants free. Who cares? Hang them in the
we're letting it
background. That's all.
hang out. We're letting it all hang out. That's right. But I mean, we're heading over to Disney, the biggest mouse house of the entertainment industry. Disney's outsourcing a big piece of its home entertainment division to Sony Pictures Entertainment, which will manufacture, distribute, and market the Mouse House's DVDs and Blu-ray discs and other physical media. As part of a big deal, Sony will market, sell, and distribute all of Disney's new releases and catalog titles on physical media and are to consumers throughout retailers and distributors in the US and in Canada. So that's not overseas, guys. So be sure to stay on top of that. Disney will continue to manage its own digital media, though, like premium video on demand. It's unclear if this will result in layoffs at Disney, though. That's the real question. However, the studio is expected to conduct its internal assessment across all business functions that support physical entertainment amid the transition to Sony. Now, according to the sources familiar with the agreement, it's all up in the air right now. And according to Disney, the licensing model allows the studio to continue to offer film and TV shows through physical retailers and to respond to consumer demands more efficiently. The company said the shift is consistent with strategies it's implemented company-wide, as well as transitions in other markets. Whatever the reasoning, physical disc sales have long been in decline. We've all been talking about that forever. I mean, streaming is a big thing. And they show no signs of rebounding amid the industry's streaming boom, like I was just talking about. Revenue for physical media in the US dropped about 28% to $754 million in the first half of 2023, compared with 1.04 billion in the prior year. So yeah, that's a big drop.
Yeah.
Now, according to the data from trade association DEG, the Digital Entertainment Group, it's projected that in 2024, it will be the first revenue drop below $1 billion. So, I mean, this only makes sense for Disney. I don't see what Sony is going to get out of it, really. But, I mean, all things considered, I feel like this is a big thumbs up and a win for Disney.
Yeah, Bob Iger's holding true to cutting money and saving money, and he's doing that. And I don't buy that you're still going to be able to get some of the physical media in retail stores. And the reason I don't buy that explanation is because they also announced that they are ending Disney Movie Club, the subscription service and online store where fans could buy Blu-ray or DVDs of films from the House of Mouse. It first launched all the way back in 2001. The Disney Movie Club offered fans access to a vast selection of Disney's physical media library, including titles from Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and 20th Century Studios. Now, new members who signed up for a 2-year contract received their first 4 titles for only $1, but under the condition they purchase at least 5 other films for full price for the remainder of the contract. Now, for fans of older and hard-to-find Disney films that aren't available to stream, purchasing a DVD from the Disney Movie Club was sometimes the only option to get the film at home. So the service also offered extra perks for members, such as special editions or exclusive prizes. Now, given that Sony, as Logan said, is taking over Disney's physical media operation, Disney fans in the US will still have some sort of option to purchase DVDs and Blu-ray discs, but it's unclear what exactly the new offering will look like and whether Sony will scale back Disney's physical media offerings or continue to make the same titles available. My guess is, since we just said the revenue is steady going down, they're going to scale back. So if you're like one of those people that loves to get those Disney movies out of the vault and keep that collection, good luck. Doesn't sound like it's going to be too easy to do anymore.
I know, right? And I mean, we're both big collectors of various different things. And I was just thinking about getting into physical media, and I don't think it's the right time anymore.
Our producer, Jason, buys a shit ton of fucking DVDs, and good luck, buddy. I think it's going the way of the, you know what, like...
The way of the big slong, that's for sure. The way of the big slong. Now, speaking of big schlong, Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool is slicing his way into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the record books. The first trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine has broken the record for most viewed movie trailer within 24 hours with an outstanding 365 million total views per Disney. Now, the previous record holder was a trailer for the fellow Marvel movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, which had about 355.5 million online views in its first 24 hours back in 2021. Now, while fans are still excited about the film's first trailer, which premiered during the Super Bowl, the new look might be coming even sooner than expected. A new listing on the official website of the British Board of Film Classification reveals that the new trailer of Deadpool and Wolverine, entitled Trailer C, has been rated. Now, Trailer C has a runtime of 1 minute and 34 seconds, which is certainly a step down from that first trailer. It is expected to feature new footage, though. It is also possible that the trailer might be a theater exclusive, but details regarding that are kind of scarce right now. Now, Deadpool and Wolverine hits theaters on July 26th, and of course marks the introduction of the Slong himself, Ryan Reynolds, rated R, merc with a mouth into the Disney family-friendly Marvel Cinematic Universe. Though his face isn't seen in the first trailer, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine also jumps from the X-Men universe into the MCU in the third Deadpool movie. Now, directed by Sean Levy, the film also includes Emma Corrin, Marina Barkarnen, Rob Delaney, Leslie Uggmans, Karen Sony, and Matthew McFadden. So all good things there. We're very excited. And yeah, that was the only thing I was sad about. We didn't get to see Hugh Jackman in the first trailer, just that shadow. But the next one I feel like is going to be so great.
Same, and hopefully we see him in the mask. I was super excited to see him in the mask. Maybe this one. I can't believe we're getting another one so soon. So, right after, that's kind of quick. And just in case you were hiding under a rock and missed it, Marvel Studios gave fans a lovely Valentine's Day gift last week by finally announcing the cast that will make up the highly anticipated film about Marvel's first family. I'm, of course, talking about the Fantastic Four. That's right, we now know who they are. Pedro Pascal is the brilliant and elastic Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby is the powerful Susan Storm, a.k.a. the Invisible Woman. Eben Moss Backrack is the clobbering Ben Grimm, a.k.a. the Thing. And Joseph Quinn, the charismatic hothead Johnny Storm, a.k.a. the Human Torch. Now, Marvel Studios announced the news via its social media accounts by writing Happy Valentine's Day from Marvel's first family and posting an image of the four celebrating the holiday. Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four hits theaters on July 25th of next year, 2025. And we now know, too, it was very cleverly done in that picture. The magazine that Ben is reading is the cover of a 1963 Life magazine, so we know it's set in that year. It's in so it's back. How that's going to come into current MCU timeline, I have no idea, but we know that they're going to be jumping all over the place on the timeline. We know that thanks to Deadpool. So we'll see. We'll see. I like the cast. I don't know if I'm going to like the movie. I like the cast. It's a good start. That's all I'm going to say. It's a good start.
Most definitely. I'm in the same boat. I was about to say I haven't seen Vanessa Kirby in anything, but I'm lying because I just looked her up. She was in Napoleon, and I thought she was great in Napoleon. So I'm very excited about it. Yeah, I love the cast, and we were talking about it beforehand. The story. It's got to be a good story. That's it.
That's right. You bailed on The Crown after a little bit, didn't you? She was. She was in The Crown. She was amazing in The Crown.
Like right after. Because I mean, what's her face? That's my queen. I didn't even watch any of the Olivia Colman one. So
you could check out Vanessa in the newest Mission Impossible too. She's the bad guy in that, so she was really good in that too. I like her. I think she's going to be a solid Sue Storm. Like I said, I think the casting is great. We'll see where the story goes.
Right? We'll see. Well, Hulu has ordered the half-hour comedy series Chad Powers from Glenn Powell and Michael Waldron. Now, Powell will star in the series in addition to co-creating and co-writing the pilot with Waldron, with both serving as executive producers. The show is based on the Chad Powers character created by Eli Manning for his ESPN Plus docuseries Eli's Places. Now, Manning wanted to learn more about the walk-on process for college football, so he donned a wig and prosthetic makeup so he could go undercover during the Penn State football tryouts. Now, the official description for the series states, when bad behavior nukes hotshot QB Russ Powell's college careers, he disguises himself and walks onto a struggling Southern football team as the talented, affable Chad Powers. Now, in addition to Powell and Waldron, Manning will executive produce alongside with his brother Peyton Manning via the Omaha Productions. I think this is hilarious. I mean, everyone loved the skit, so I think it's great that they're going forward. It's so it's different. It's original. So that's what we're looking for.
and guys, if you didn't watch the skit, you got to go and watch it. We call it a skit because it's funny, but it was real. The guys at Penn State had no idea it's him. And he's like legit, and he's Eli Manning, and he's making these incredible throws, and he's running the 40 at just crazy times, and they're trying to say he's not good enough. They keep telling, well, we can improve on this. Hey, I kind of like that, but man, and he's just going, are you fucking serious? I'm two-time Super Bowl champion Eli fucking Manning. You're telling me I'm not good enough. So the idea that somebody, I mean, that's great, because it did give you an inside look at how hard it is to make a team as a walk-on, even if you are really talented. So I think the show is going to be fucking hilarious. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. Let's jump on over to Warner Brothers. James Gunn's Superman Legacy. Superman, I got my mug. I told you, I warned you, I'm a little crazy. Anyway, James Gunn's Superman Legacy is flying into production. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO, maybe and maybe not, to the happiness of James Gunn, David Zaslav, confirmed during a recent earnings call that the film begins shooting next week. That's right, next week. Gunn then also confirmed it basically by revealing the first photo of his full cast on Instagram this past Thursday, revealing his legacy team had gathered around the table for a read. Now, the photo includes David Cornsweet, Gunn's new Clark Kent Superman, Rachel Brosnahan on board, of course, as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult shorn of hair as the new Lex Luthor. That's right, he was bald in the pic. Sarah Sampio, who plays Eve Tessmacher, Terrence Rossmore playing Otis, Edi Gathagay playing Mr. Terrific, Skylar Gizzotto as Jimmy Olsen, Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho, and Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, Maria Gabriela DeFaria as the engineer, and of course Gunn's longtime collaborator Nathan Fillion out front and center, taking the pick, who's also, as you guys know, playing Guy Gardner, aka one of many Green Lanterns. Now, also in the photo are Gunn himself and his DC Studios co-chief Peter Safran, both probably feeling a sense of genuine joy and excitement over this gathering of performers for the first big film that will fall under the new look DC. Now, there was one notable face not in the photo, though. That's newly minted Supergirl Millie Alcock, who will be leading the upcoming Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. We're likely going to see Alcock in Superman Legacy before her big film, but it's unclear how big a role she'll play in that film. And obviously, maybe not. Maybe it's just a cameo. Maybe it's just a quick couple scenes, because she's clearly not there at the start of filming. So who knows when she's coming in, who she's not. Maybe they still got to do costume testing for her. Who knows? But she wasn't in the picture. That's all we do know.
Yeah. That's all
She's not there yet. She's not there now. She is Woman of Tomorrow. So maybe she'll be there tomorrow. Not today.
Exactly.
Not the Woman of today. Woman of Tomorrow. Take a picture tomorrow. Maybe she'll be there.
Exactly. That's it. Well, we were talking about it all.
She doesn't wear pants either. She wears skirt. No. Well, sometimes she wears pants. Depends on which version we get.
It depends. Like we said, he's crazy. He's medicated up. But we're both talking about it, and we're honestly more excited about Superman Legacy than Fantastic Four. Very excited about both of them. I mean, I feel like, with the passion project that is, Superman Legacy for James Gunn, I think, My expectations are really high, to be honest. And I mean, I've gone on the record saying that I haven't really been much of a Superman fan before in the past. I'm really hoping to change that. So I'm very excited about it, and I know you're excited about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who knows me and has listened to this show or knows me behind the scenes kind of a thing, you know that the original Superman the movie 1970, is the bar of which I hold all superhero movies to. It is the standard. It is the granddaddy, the godfather of them all. And we were talking off air before we started recording here, and I legitimately am comparing Superman Legacy to Iron Man 2008. This film will either kick off the new DCU and give us the next 20 years of amazing DC films, or it will put the last nail in the coffin of what we wanted, and we will never move forward again. So there's a lot of pressure on this movie, but this is the right guy to do it. It's in good hands. It's a brilliant cast by our buddy John Papsadera. So I have high hopes like you. I think it can be the Iron Man 2008 to launch this DCU. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Good luck.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, Warner Brothers and Legendary Entertainment are in negotiations for an untitled Alejandro G. Inarritu film starring Tom Cruise. The project would mark Inarritu's first English language pick since his 2015 smash, The Revenant, which we all know that's what finally got Leo an Oscar. The film is produced and directed by, god damn it, motherfucker, all these names. Alejandro, I'm just going to say his first name, with the new script he co-wrote in 2023 with Sabina Berman, as well as Alexandra Danelis and Nicholas Galisigobone. His co-writers on Birdman reuniting a decade later. Now, this also marks the first film for Cruise, who will also produce, of course, I feel like that's always just in the contract now, following the announcement of his strategic partnership with Warner Brothers last month. Now, it's expected that Legendary will also produce as well. Now, this project is being treated as top secret. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wait, that's Paramount. That's Paramount. No plot details available other than being a new original story written by Alejandro. What is known is that the Oscar-winning director has been taking meetings with select few actors in recent weeks, with Cruise being one of the first. So it's going to be very interesting, and I'm very curious, because it's top secret. So what's going to happen? But this being the first film that is being talked about after Tom Cruise's pact with Warner Brothers, we have high expectations because Tom Cruise has been hitting stuff out of the park recently. So I'm excited to see more details come out about this project.
And Alejandro is an Oscar maker. Look, he got Leo his Oscar. He got Keaton his Oscar. Will he get Cruise an Oscar for Best Actor? I mean, if he pulls off a trifecta like that, I mean, Cruise has had a lot of huge films and made a lot of money for a lot of studios, but he has never been really in the consideration, other than Rain Man, for Best Actor of our generation kind of thing. But Alejandro has given roles to these actors that have just elevated them. So I'm curious. I'm curious about what the film is going to be, and I'm curious if he can get Tom in the running for Best Actor.
I mean, with the theme of the show, you know what they say about small feet?
Yeah.
Small socks.
Well, he is a very small man. He's a
small man.
He's a little man. He's just a lot of Apple boxes. A lot of Apple boxes, platforms. Fine. It's fine. You know what? This next one I am super excited about, and when watching it, you might want to put on some pants. Zendaya is about to take her image and shake it up because she's getting a whole lot of steamy and racy in this new second trailer for her film, Challengers, which of course stars Zendaya as Tashi Duncan, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, and a force of nature who makes no apologies for her game on and off the court. Now married to a champion on a losing streak, Tashi's strategy for her husband's redemption takes a surprising turn when he must face off against the washed-up Patrick, his former best friend, and Tashi's former boyfriend. Now, as their pasts and presents collide and tensions run high, Tashi must ask herself, what will it cost to win? The film is produced by Amy Pascal, Luca Zendaya, and Rachel O'Connor. Now, Bernard Bello serves as the film's executive producer. It's written by Justin Kurtzix. Challengers, directed by Luca, will open in theaters on April 26th. Y'all, this trailer... I mean, I'm just going to say it sure certainly appears that Zendaya is going to be in a little threesome.
Oh.
Threesome. They hinted at it in the first trailer. This one gets even a little bit more steamy. I feel like, the guys are like, she's like, come here. And they're like, which one? And then they're both there. And she, just saying, if you're a fan of Zendaya from Disney... This ain't Disney. This ain't a Disney film. Malcolm and Marie kind of hinted that she might be taking it a little bit more adult. This one, I think, is going to confirm it. Might want to keep the Disney fans away. Keep the Disney fans away. It's hard to explain that. Hard to, Mommy, why is she kissing both guys? We don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. But all kidding aside, I'm excited for this film. It does look like it's going to be a really intense spot-on film, and I love tennis. And there's a lot of tennis action in it and everything. I'm pumped for it, man. And personally, I like seeing Zendaya go outside and take on these more adult. She is a grown-ass woman. I know she still looks young, but and I like seeing her take these controversial grown-up roles. It's just, it's good.
Completely agree. I mean, she's definitely one that has been taking swings and getting home runs with it. I mean, that's for sure.
Malcolm and Marie was fucking fantastic. I mean, so if you want to look just like a little preface into this movie, watch that one and you'll go, oh, okay, I got you. Yeah.
I think that was on both of our lists for films that we're excited about for this year.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm pumped. Now, based on pre-sales and early tracking, Dune Part 2, speaking of Zendaya, is set to deliver a much-needed box office jolt. Clear! The sci-fi epic is expected to collect at least $600 million to about $800 million in its domestic debut. It would be the first movie to open above the $50 million mark since last October's Blumhouse thriller Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, some are bullish that ticket sales for Dune 2 could even approach to the $90 million mark in its first weekend. Not that the film needs to hit those heights to be considered a success, though. The first movie, starring Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, Zendaya, and Jason Momoa, and basically everybody else in Hollywood, opened to $41 million while appearing simultaneously on HBO Max, because that was that period during COVID.
Yep.
It cost $165 million and ended its box office run with $402 million. One of the only financial wins from the studio's COVID-era hybrid release strategy. Now, the sequel reportedly cost $190 million, so analysts believe that it would be a commercial winner if it replicates the results of the original Dune. So that's exciting. I gotta say, watching the original on streaming kind of sucked. Or not the original, because it's a remake, but watching the first one on streaming kind of sucked, so I wish they would do a re-release before it came out. That would be cool, because I'm more excited about Dune Part 2 because it looks like there's going to be more action. The first one's very dialogue driven. It's kind of slow, but the second one looks very action. So, but I'm still going to go watch it. I'm still excited to see it, even though I'm not a Timothée Chalamet fan. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the first one I agree was a slow burn. It's Oppenheimer's the epitome of how to do a dialogue-driven film right. The first Dune was how to not do one. It was a very slow burn. I get that they were setting up origins and trying to tell you who the families are and the war that's going on, but it was boring as fuck. They could have done it a little bit better. I am excited for the second one, though. It does look a little bit better. I'm also excited about this. Our OG Supergirl, well, not OG, Helen Slater's the OG, but everybody's favorite Supergirl, in my opinion, Melissa Benoist, she's back. Here we are, 4 political reporters, rivals, vicious competitors, getting entirely out of control. Why? Because the state of American politics is the state of our own lives. And that is how it begins the trailer for Girls on the Bus, the Max drama series adaptation of Amy Chozik's best-selling book, Chasing Hillary, starring and produced by Supergirl herself, Melissa Benoist. Now, along with the trailer, we also got a look at some of the first photos from the upcoming series. The Girls on the Bus, which hails from Julie Plek-Chozik, Berlanti Productions, and Warner Brothers TV, will debut with 2 episodes Thursday, March 14th, followed by 1 new episode weekly through May 9th on Max. The story centers on Sadie McCarthy, who's played by Melissa Benoist, a journalist who romanticizes about a bygone era of campaign reporting and scraps her whole life for a shot at covering a presidential candidate for a paper of record. Now, Sadie joins the bus and eventually bonds with 3 female competitors, Grace, Lola, and Kimberlyn. Now, despite their differences, the women become a found family with a front row seat to the greatest soap opera in town, The Battle for the White House. The trailer looks amazing. I think this is going to be a really fun one, and I'm a huge fan of Melissa Benoist. I think she's a phenomenal actress who doesn't get enough credit for what she does. I mean, it's going to be a good one. And I'm a political junkie and anything about politics, and I think it's going to be good.
Completely agree. Well, True Detective has been renewed for season 5 at HBO. This is by no surprise. Now, Isa Lopez, the creator of True Detective Night Country, will helm the 5th season under her new overall deal with HBO. Now, the renewal comes as a little surprise, though, given the success of Night Country, which saw Jodie Foster and Callie Reyes star in the 4th installment of the HBO anthology series. Now, per HBO, the season is the most watched installment of the show to date, so not a surprise. With 12.7 million cross-platform viewers, the season finale on February 18th was the most watched episode of the season, drawing 3.2 million viewers across HBO and Max. Now, that represents a 57% increase over the show's premiere viewership in January. At this time, Foster and Reyes are not attached to the 5th installment, as the show has changed its lead actors with each new season. If y'all didn't know, that's what anthology means. But yeah, I mean, it only makes sense, man. I mean, True Detective has been such a massive hit for Warner Brothers in general. So that's awesome.
Side note, I did see something that was a bit of a surprise. The original creator of the show and showrunner from season 1 fucking hated the last season. Was not a fan. He came out and was not. So the fact that they're carrying over into the next season, I guess he won't be so happy about it. He wasn't too happy. Let's jump on over to Paramount, the king of the mountain, if you will. If the mouse is the house, then they are the mountain. Paramount's musical biopic, Bob Marley, One Love, ruled in its box office debut, beating expectations with $28.6 million over the traditional weekend and $52 million during the 6-day holiday stretch. It was initially projected to generate $30 million to $35 million, so yeah, it way overperformed. The film came in slightly above Sunday's domestic estimates of $27.7 million for 3 days and $51 million for the 6. Now, it experienced an uptick because audiences dug One Love, which landed an encouraging A cinema score from moviegoers. Overseas, One Love added $29 million from 47 territories, bringing its initial global tally to an impressive $81 million. Now, the biopic cost $70 million to produce, and since theater owners get to keep half of those ticket sales now without the distribution guys, it'll need to keep singing at the big screen to make that money back. But I loved it. Yeah, I know you loved it. We both saw it. It's an amazing movie. The cast is phenomenal. The performances by the cast are just incredible. And we just recently watched a little video of why can't I say his name? I can never say his name. But Bob Marley, they're learning how to be Bob Marley. And going into it with the expectation, I don't speak Jamaican, I can't play, I can't sing, I can't but it was phenomenal. That just shows you how great, because when you're watching it, it's Bob Marley. He's so spot on that you can't understand him half the time, which was real life Bob Marley. So it's just, I sing.
Haha.
Singing the praises of this film very highly. If you haven't seen it, make sure you get out and see it because it's worth it for sure.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to our box office. But yeah, loved it. Great film. I'm super excited to see where it goes.
For sure.
Now, someone who was in Bob Marley One Love, Lashana Lynch, is attached to star in Optimize, a sci-fi feature from filmmaker Lindsay Anderson Beer. Now, Paramount is making the project with Beer's Lab Brew banner as part of the filmmaker's first look deal with the studio. Now, according to the logline, Optimize centers on an average woman who utilizes an AI assistant to optimize all facets of her life, but soon finds that AI's pursuit of perfection comes too high of a cost. Now, Lynch is currently in theaters, like I said, with Bob Marley's One Love, in which she plays Rita Marley, the wife of the music icon. That sounds very interesting and very timely. I love how they're doing that, so that's really cool.
For sure. She's another one that's just absolutely killing it. She's everywhere.
She is.
I mean, and she's an amazing actress as well, so it's nice to see her finally getting her dues. This next one, I think it's unnecessary. I don't think it's going to go well. I think it's going to be a flop, and I just don't want to see it. I'm talking about Paramount Pictures' feature spinoff of the 1980s touchstone classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Well, apparently it's revving up. The studio has set David Katzenberg to direct the follow-up movie, Sam and Victor's Day Off. Now, taking place on a single day, just like the original Ferris did, the film centers on the two title characters, the valets, who borrow the Ferrari belonging to the father of Alan Ruck's character, Cameron Fry, in the original film. Katzenberg is known, of course, for his work as director and executive producers on ABC's The Goldbergs, along with producing Warner Brothers' hit 2017 film, It. I don't see the purpose of this. Do we care what the valets did with the car on their day while they were at the parade? Nobody cares about this. And by the way, how are you going to do that? Are you going to CGI the original actors to make them look like... I mean, this was fucking 40 years ago, like 30 years ago. How are you... There's no need for this. Ferris Bueller is such a classic. Maybe they understood that you don't touch a classic, so we'll try a spinoff. No, there's no spinoff necessary for the classic either. This is going to be a fucking epic fail. I'm sorry, but I just don't see the point of this.
I agree. I think if they were going to do something like this, and I'm pitching, so Paramount, if you're listening, listen. But yeah, I think it would be very interesting, if you had kids who watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off and then went and tried to recreate it, but then realized they couldn't do the same things because of technology, and that would bring new hurdles and different things, and how, growing up in the 80s is different from growing up now, and that could have been an interesting dynamic. I felt like that would have been way more interesting than this. Yeah, because, those guys are old. They're way gone, and, that's weird. I don't like that.
No, just a sad attempt to capitalize off a brilliant film. It's just
that's all it is. John Hughes is rolling over in his grave
without doubt. You shouldn't touch any John Hughes film, in my opinion.
Never.
You just shouldn't do it. Look at the newer Home Alones. They all fucking sucked. Exactly. You just should not touch a John Hughes film. You shouldn't do it.
Don't even get me started on the Home Alone.
I know. That's why I said it. It's like if somebody fucking even attempts The Breakfast Club, I will personally go and cause wrecking havoc on that thing to make it not happen. It would be a fucking disaster. Don't even. Are you paying attention out there? Don't even fucking try it. Don't.
Just say it.
Don't.
Just don't do it.
Nobody cares. Nobody wants that. All right.
But obviously, people care enough about Paramount Plus's Frasier revival because it landed a second season order at the streamer. The new Frasier, which stars Kelsey Grammer in the role he most made famous on Cheers, and then of course in the original Frasier from 1993 to 2004, which premiered in October with 10 episodes. Now, last November, Grammer expressed his desire to keep the new Frasier going for as long as possible. Now, CBS Studios produces Frasier, which will continue to shoot at Paramount in front of a live studio audience, which never really happens anymore, so that's awesome. The new Frasier premiered 30 years Frasier premiered 30 years after the original series was first launched, that Frasier still holds the record for most comedy wins at the Emmys. So that's awesome. 37, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah.
37 wins at the Emmys. That's freaking awesome.
Hell yeah. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see who else they bring in now as guest stars. We got Lilith, and we got like so many, and there was nice tributes to Dad. Rumors have it we might see Sam Malone, Ted Danson himself, make an appearance, which would be fucking awesome. I can't wait. I'm pumped. I loved it. Let's jump on over to NBC Universal, where Rogue One director Gareth Edwards is apparently now in talks to direct the all-new Jurassic World film for Universal. This, of course, comes just recently after the studio's negotiations with David Leitch fell apart. The film will be executive produced by Steven Spielberg through Amblin Entertainment. Frank Marshall and Patrick Crowley will produce, and David Leitch and Kelly McCormick will also produce through 87 North. David Kopp, the original screenwriter of Jurassic Park and The Lost World Jurassic Park, will pen the script. Now, the currently untitled project, scheduled for release of July 2nd next year, will mark the beginning of a fresh storyline in the decade-spanning dinosaur series. With that said, it would be unclear if any of the previous stars from the previous storylines, including Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, or Jeff Goldblum, will return. Why would they? If it's starting a new storyline, why would we need them? I'm just saying. I mean, it's a new storyline.
That's it. The last one wasn't great, so I mean, you know, it wasn't. It
would be like bringing Luke back for the new Star Wars. We're moving on. Well, we don't need. I mean, it's just
it. They're closing the chapter. Oppenheimer has achieved the most watched launch for a Pay One film in Peacock's history. Now that puts it ahead of Super Mario Brothers movie, which previously held the record for the highest opening weekend viewership among the films landed on the streamer through its Pay One deal with Universal Pictures. An exact number of views, however, was not available for either film. After Universal's Pay One deal with HBO expired in 2021, parent company NBC Universal opted to keep its films within the family.
Damn right.
And set up a Pay One at its in-house streamer, which only makes sense. I'm glad they did that.
Of course.
Through the arrangement, Universal Films have their streaming debuts on Peacock as early as 4 months after their theatrical releases, then stay on there for 4 months before non-exclusively moving to other partners and eventually moving back to Peacock. That's how you got to make your money, man.
That's how you got to do it.
Now, Oppenheimer arrived on Peacock on February 16th, roughly 7 months after its July 21st theatrical release, while Mario had its Pay One Peacock debut on August 3rd of 2022, following an April 5th opening in theaters. Meaning Oppenheimer viewers had to wait a little bit longer before tuning in on streaming. The Christopher Nolan film was expected to draw in a sizable streaming viewership, as it was one of 2023's most acclaimed and commercially successful films. Through this achievement is particularly significant when considering the box office performance in recent years. So, I mean, that's really awesome, man. And then, again, this film alone gives us hope for story-driven films, especially among the young audience. And because my theater was packed, I know your theater was packed, so I'm really excited to see what this does for the industry. And now we can watch it again.
Yeah, I've got it in my queue. I'm not even going to lie. It's in my queue and ready to go. I plan on watching it this weekend. And it's nice to hear that the numbers and the ratings for it on Peacock blew the fuck up. Because it only makes sense.
No pun intended. Yeah, no pun intended.
Okay, now we're moving over to another one that I'm super excited about. We now know who will be leading NBC's drama pilot Suits LA, which is, of course, the new extension of the Suits universe from Aaron Korsh, creator and writer of the original series. And guess who it is? You guys are going to love this. This is a good one. He's got a huge fan base. It's good. Arrow star and Heels star, and you should totally check out Heels if you haven't, Stephen Amell himself has landed the role of the lead, Ted Black, in the new series. Now, as we've reported on previous episodes, Suits LA centers on Ted Black, a former federal prosecutor from New York who has reinvented himself representing the most powerful clients in Los Angeles. His firm is at a crisis point, and in order to survive, he must embrace a role he held in contempt his entire career. Now, Ted is surrounded by a group of characters who test their loyalties to both Ted and each other, while they can't help but mix their personal and professional lives. All of this, of course, because it wouldn't be Suits if not, is going on while events from years ago slowly unravel that led Ted to leave behind everything and everyone he loved. Now, Amell's Ted Black is described as a charismatic force of nature who puts his own needs above others. 15 years ago, the former New York prosecutor joined forces with his old buddy, Stuart Lane, to build an LA law firm that specializes in criminal and entertainment law. And we now know who's playing Stuart. The Walking Dead actor Josh McDermott is attached to play the role of Stuart Lane, who is described as energetic, powerful, and self-absorbed. Production is scheduled to start on this bad boy next month in Vancouver. That sounds like Lewis. He's gonna have a Lewis, really? Even though they're partners. Though I think that's gonna be a. And if you guys don't know, I mean, Josh McDermott, he was brilliant. He kind of was the Lewis on The Walking Dead. That his character. I just think that's great casting. I'm excited for this one. I think it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, completely agree. We were worried about it at first, but if you had the right cast and the right story, they can go far.
So far, so good for sure.
Yeah. Peacock has unveiled the teaser trailer for The Tattooist of Auschwitz, starring Harvey Keitel, Melanie Linsky, Jonah Hauer-King, and Anna Poroshnik. The 6-part limited drama series is based on the international best-selling novel by Heather Morris, which is inspired by the real-life story of Lali and Gita Skovich. Who met while prisoners in Auschwitz during World War II. The series will launch on May 2nd, a few months after Jonathan Glazer's Zone of Interest movie, which has been amassing plenty of Oscar buzz, that's for sure. Now, the teaser trailer shows the order of Lali retelling his experiences of Auschwitz to Morris, who is played by Linsky. We also see a younger Lali as he meets and falls in love with Gita. Now, shortly after arrival at Auschwitz, Lali is made one of the tattooists charged with ink identification numbers and onto fellow prisoners' arms. Now, one day he meets Gita when tattooing her prisoner number on her arm, leading to a love that defies the horrors around them. Now, the trailer includes an original score from multi-Academy Award-winning composer Hans Zimmer and Kara Talv, who have also composed the soundtrack for the series. So that's really awesome. This definitely sounds like something that could be Emmy-nominated and Emmy-winning. That's for sure. This sounds super interesting.
It's basically the origin of the brandings. Anybody who knows anything about history, all those prisoners were tattooed with serial numbers, either on the back of their neck or their arms. And this story is about that. Who the people were that were forced to basically brand these people for life. And it's going to be really, really interesting. I love historical stuff. And Linsky, we love Melanie. All right, let's jump on over to Sony. Are you ready for the second British invasion of the Fab Four? Well, it's happening 4 times. What the hell am I talking about? Well, John, Paul, George, and Ringo will each be the subject of a different upcoming feature film. Director Sam Mendes plans to make 4 separate movies, one from each Beatles member's point of view. That's going to be fucking awesome, y'all. They will intersect to tell the astonishing story of the greatest band in history leading up to their 1970 breakup. Now, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the families of the late John Lennon and George Harrison have granted, for the first time ever, full life story and music rights for the scripted films. Sony Pictures Entertainment will finance and distribute all 4 films theatrically in 2027. Now, details about the release plans will be shared later, because that's going to be a tricky thing, releasing all 4 in 1 year. How are they going to do it? We don't know, but the studio does promise that the strategy will be innovative and groundbreaking. Now, in addition to directing, Mendes will produce alongside his Neal Street Productions partner Pippa Harris and Neal Street's Julie Pastor. Jeff Jones will executive produce for Apple Corps Limited. Beatles Apple, not the other Apple, by the way, don't get confused. The multimedia organization founded by the Beatles in 1968. I could not be more excited about this one. I fucking love the idea of the same film being told 4 times from 4 different points of view. Yeah. Because John Lennon's point of view with Yoko coming in gonna be a whole lot different than Paul's point of view of Yoko coming in. I'm just real curious to see how that shit's going. And Ringo's probably like, "What the fuck?" His point. Fuck both of y'all. What the fuck is going on? You know, I can't wait. I think it's just gonna be an amazing look at that history. It's exciting.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. Well, Madam Web, Sony superhero suspense thriller starring Dakota Johnson as a paramedic and with psychic abilities and an association to Spider-Man, opened with just $17.6 million over the traditional weekend and $26.2 million over the same 6-day period. Now, the film launched internationally with $25.7 million from 61 markets. Now, those are disappointing figures considering Madam Web cost about $80 million to produce and tens of millions more to promote and put it in theaters. It is the latest entry in studio hit or miss universe of the Spider-Man characters, anchored by commercially most successful Venom and the less embraced Morbius. And even the critically derided Morbius managed to sink its teeth into $39.1 million, though, with a theatrical release of a 3-day debut. Now, with a dismissal C+ cinema score and the grim 13% on Rotten Tomatoes average, it doesn't take a clairvoyant to predict that Madam Web's ticket won't rebound in theaters and probably won't be considered for a sequel or continuing forward. No. Which actually sucks because it's not that bad. Like, it's getting hammered like crazy, but in my opinion, it reminds me of early 2000s Marvel. Is it cheesy? Yes. Is it a little bit far-fetched? Yes, but it's not the worst thing. It's not Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's better than Thor: Love and Thunder. So I don't understand the amount of hate that it's getting.
Yeah, I just think, unfortunately, for Sony, nobody gives a shit about other Spider-Man characters other than Spider-Man. And the only reason that Venom was massively successful is because they all know Spider-Man is coming. They teased it when they brought Venom over into the MCU, and we know Spidey's coming over into Venom. It's the only reason Venom works, I think, because if you knew Venom was just going to be Venom and there was no shot of ever seeing Spider-Man, it would be failing just like all these other movies are, in my opinion. But
yeah, because I mean the Venom movies are not that great. I
mean,
they're okay, but they're not that great. Especially the second one. The second one was really not that good. But the first one was okay, but yeah, it's just I don't know.
Well, speaking of Venom, Clark Backo, best known for The Changeling and Letterkenny, has joined the cast of Sony and Marvel's Venom 3. Now, the Tom Hardy starring threequel, which is set to hit theaters on November 8th, also features Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor in undisclosed roles. Now, similarly, character details for Backo are being kept under wraps. Kelly Marcel helms the anti-hero movie in her featured directorial debut and wrote the screenplay for a story she developed with Hardy. Now, the duo who also developed the first two Venom installments returned to produce the film alongside Avi Arad, Matt Tolmach, Amy Pascal, and Hutch Parker. Venom 3 marks Backo's break into big-budget filmmaking, with the first two Venom films, of course, 2018's Venom, directed by Ruben Fleischer, and 2021's sequel, Let There Be Carnage, helmed by Andy Serkis, earning a combined $1.3 billion at the box office. Now, in April of 2022, Sony announced that the third film was in the works during its CinemaCon presentation, bringing back Hardy's Eddie Brock and Venom back to the big screen after their credit sequence cameo in 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home, which goes to emphasize my point. They all know Spidey's coming. That's it. The only reason. It's the only reason Venom is working.
I completely agree. Well, Lionsgate's John Wick spinoff, Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas, has been pushed to 2025. Now, Rupert Sanders' The Crow remake will take over its release date of June 7th of 2024. While Ballerina will bow on June 6th of 2025, studio insiders say that Chad Stahelski, who oversees the John Wick franchise, along with Basil Ewok and Erica Lee at Thunder Road, is working closely with Ballerina director Lynn Wiseman in addition to action sequences for the film. With The Crow ready to go, Lionsgate sees no rush for Ballerina for the theaters, especially with strong advanced tracking numbers. The studio has also added an untitled Guy Ritchie to its release calendar, slated for January 17th of 2025. Now, the project will reunite Ritchie with stars Henry Cavill and Eliza Gonzalez, following their other upcoming Lionsgate film, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Man, what's up with these names? Which is set to release on April 19th of 2024. I mean, I'm just saying, imagine being at the box office trying to purchase a ticket, and you're like, you have to say all of this. I mean, that's just a mouthful. That's too much.
Yeah. I'd just say that new Guy Ritchie film.
Yeah, right.
Just need a tick to that new Guy Ritchie film. Let's jump on over to Amazon MGM Studios, where Piper Perabo, who is also being seen freaking everywhere lately, has been cast apparently in the upcoming Amazon Prime Video spy series Butterfly. Sorry, had to go Young Guns right there. I had to. Perabo joins previously announced, because I too am on drugs, announced series lead Daniel Day Kim in the series, along with cast members Rena Hardesty, Park Hae-soo, Kim Tae-hee, and Naeun Kim. The show was originally ordered to series way back in May of 2023 with a 6-episode order. Now, Butterfly is based on the Boom Studios graphic novel of the same name, created by Arash Amell, written by Amell and Marguerite Bennett, and illustrated by Antonio Fuso. Per the official logline, the series is centered on David Jung, played by Kim, an enigmatic, highly unpredictable former U.S. intelligence operative living in South Korea, whose life is blown to pieces when the consequences of an impossible decision from his past come back to haunt him, and he finds himself pursued by Rebecca, a deadly sociopath young agent assigned to kill him. Perabo will star as Juno, described as a brilliant, formidable, Machiavellian woman. Once upon a time, she was an idealistic lawyer, but she has since come to the conclusion that she needs power and money to get anything done in this world. Now the CEO of an intelligence company, she's willing to do whatever it needs to be done to protect her organization. She's also the mother with a complicated relationship with her adult son who works for her company. She's not unfeeling, though, you guys. She's not an awful person. She just sees her softer emotions and vulnerabilities and opens them up when things go bad, when they tear down and conflict with her goals. I mean, that's the way it is. Bad people, good people do bad things, right? That's what I was trying to say. Bad people do good things. Good things, bad things. I'm lost. I'm good.
Sure.
I'm super.
But, I mean, speaking of good people doing bad things, we're heading over to Netflix. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner might be working together.
I love
which
this.
Is very interesting.
Yeah.
I really, this is kind of goals for, divorced couples who also share children. Like, this is really goals. Jennifer Garner may be joining Ben Affleck for his latest movie outing. Now, the actress, who was married to the Oscar-winning filmmaker for 13 years, is in negotiations to star opposite of Matt Damon in Animals, a crime thriller set up at Netflix. Now, Affleck is just directing the feature film, but is also starring alongside Damon via their artist equity banner, along with the company's Danny Bernfield. Also producing are Brad Weston and Colin Crichton via their make-ready shingle pieces, Pieces are still being put together, including Gardner's deal, but if it all fits, the thriller could be before cameras in Los Angeles starting in March. Now, written by Connor McIntyre, with revisions by Billy Ray, who is a past guest on our show. The crime thriller concerns a mayoral candidate and his wife whose son has been kidnapped. Now, surrounded by plenty of enemies, political and otherwise, the husband and wife have no choice but to get their hands dirty in order to save their son. Now, Garner would play the wife opposite of Damon as the candidate. Now, Garner and Affleck have appeared together in front of the camera in a trio of movies, all made before their marriage in 2005, 2001's Pearl Harbor, and 2003's Daredevil. And then, of course, that movie spinoff, Elektra, released in 2005. She has not yet, however, been directed by him, so that would be interesting. And, of course, the final piece of anecdote, they divorced in 2018, but they have been seen together being, respectable parents. So it would be really cool to see them work together again. I love this.
I think there's a lot of love still there between the two of them. That was just a marriage that was troubled by his alcoholism and his addiction and her trying to do everything she could to get him out of it. I think that was just failed from the beginning, but that they love each other. And I think to see them work together, and then you throw in your boy Matt Damon with them, I mean, and it's written by Billy Ray. Are you fucking kidding me? You've got Affleck, Damon, Garner, and Billy Ray. That's a fucking hit no matter what you do. That's going to be great. So, and I can't think of a better way to show people how to get it done after a divorce. That's the way to do it right there, guys. Let's jump over to Apple with a couple of these final stories, which are both awesome. Masters of the Air, which launched with more viewers in its opening weekend than any Apple TV Plus series ever has in its first season. Now, that's according to the streamer, but you gotta believe them. Though an exact number of viewers was not made available, that does put the Epic War miniseries launch above other high-profile original titles like Hijack, The Morning Show, and Severance. Now, remarkably, following the premiere of Masters of the Air, viewership across all of Apple TV Plus climbed by more than 65% worldwide when compared to the previous 7-day period. The streamer also maintained double-digit growth across more than 100 territories. Now, Masters of the Air is currently debuting new episodes, with its 6th installment premiering tonight, guys, as we're recording this, Friday, February 23rd. The finale will bow on the streamer on March 15th. I am fucking loving this show. It is intense and sometimes hard to watch. They don't hold back on what went down inside those fucking planes, man. It is hardcore. But it's a phenomenal, it's Spielberg, of course, it's Hanks, it's all the great things that you want from a World War II project. Austin Butler and the cast are fucking watch this thing. Jump on board and watch this thing. You'll be glad you did. I'm not at all surprised about those massive numbers. It just makes total sense to me.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Well, Olivia Munn is set to star opposite of Jon Hamm in the upcoming Apple TV Plus series, Your Friends and Neighbors. The drama series was originally ordered at Apple back in December, and it is based on the original idea of Jonathan Trooper. Now, Hamm will star in the series as Coop, described as recently divorced hedge fund manager who, after being fired, resorts to stealing from the wealthy residents in his tiny upstate New York suburb in order to keep his family's lifestyle afloat. Now, these petty crimes begin to reinvigorate him until he breaks into the wrong house at the wrong time. Exact details on Munn's character are being kept under wraps, and I love how ever since that commercial, fucking Jon Hamm is Apple's golden boy.
Oh, without doubt. Funny. Without doubt. And look, I'm just going to say, huge fan of Olivia Munn. We don't see her nearly enough. So you tell me Jon Hamm, you tell me Olivia Munn, I'm in. I don't give a fuck what the story's about. Jon Hamm, Olivia Munn, I am in. That's going to be a winner. All right, let's finish this thing up with another winner, and this one sounds like it's going to be a good one too. Oscar nominee America Ferrera has signed on to star in Oscar nominee Paul Greengrass's upcoming drama, The Lost Bus, alongside Academy Award winner Matthew McConaughey. All right. Being developed, produced, and distributed by Apple Original Films with an original script by Brad Inglesby, the film is based on Lizzie Johnson's book Paradise, One Town Struggled to Survive an American Wildfire, and it's about the devastating 2018 California wildfires that resulted in over 100 deaths and destroyed the majority of the town of Paradise. The fires were the deadliest in the state's history. Now, the movie will center on Kevin McKay, played by McConaughey, and Mary Ludwig, played by Ferrera, a bus driver and teacher who led a school bus full of young students through the campfire. The film will go into production later this spring. That sounds fucking intense, but also sounds pretty damn awesome.
I mean, like we talk about all the time, Apple, though they may not have a lot of shows, they have great quality shows.
They do.
So I'm very excited about that. Something else that we're very excited about is our guest segment. That's right. We got the one and only Charles Agron coming on the show to talk about his new film, Altered Reality. And man, oh man, does it look very interesting. But it's going to be, something that I feel like a lot of filmmakers are going to enjoy. That's for sure.
I agree with you because he's wearing a lot of hats in this one, but he pulls it all together and he gets it done. And another exciting thing is that it's a great cast. He's got a lot of our fellow guests, our former guests on there. He's got Kayla Adams. He's got the late great Ed Asner. It's amazing to see them all kind of come together in this project, and you can tell he's very passionate about it and what he does. This is a good interview for anybody trying to break in the industry that wants to know how to produce, how to write, how to pull it all together if you're going to wear multiple hats. It's a good one.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, here he is.
Charles Agron, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm, man. How are you?
I'm perfect. I'm very excited today. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, fantastic. We are excited to talk to you. We always have a good time talking to fellow filmmakers. And congratulations, first of all, on the film. We're going to dive in and talk all about the film, Altered Reality. It is currently being seen right now in 300 theaters across the country, AMC and Regal. We'll talk about that process a little bit because that's got to be really exciting to get it out on so many screens. It's going to be amazing. So let's dive right into it. You are an independent filmmaker who wears multiple hats. You're a writer, a producer, an actor. So let's start there because I think that anybody that's not in the filmmaking world, they don't understand wearing one of those hats is not an easy thing to do. Wearing 3 of those hats is extremely difficult. Wearing 3 of those hats on one film, well, I mean, that's just insane. So talk about that. When you started to write this film, did you know, okay, I'm going, because a lot of times you'll write it and you'll go, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm going to be the writer and we'll get somebody behind it to produce it. We'll get somebody. Did you know right away that you were going to be going into it as all 3?
I did. It's so funny because I was asked, like, so what is the genesis of sort of like this strategy that I have? And it's, I've produced other movies, but it seems as if, when I write them, I also act in them. And it sort of all stems from the fact that, back in the day when, when I was around other like-minded people trying to break into the industry, we have no idea how or what we're doing, that type of thing.
Right.
You basically had each other, and you would, work with each other. You would act against each other for auditions, try to get better all the time. And, at the time, like if you didn't write a script, you didn't have a script. And so what you'd have to do is you'd have to start putting things together. And then, you get enough people interested. Once again, everybody's, trying to, get an agent or working on their reel or just trying to cut their teeth on a set type of thing.
Right.
You wore multiple hats, not because you wanted to, but that was the only option, I mean, there'd be like a scene, that, I might have written, but I'm also performing into the camera, but holding a light up, all at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we're laughing because we've all been there. We've all seen it. And it's like, you're trying to like look dramatic and you're sitting there feeling like you're a statue, And so, as things sort of developed, that was sort of the mindset that I had. It was just like, it's not, this is what I want to do. This is what you got to do.
Mm.
So, I never really went to film school. I went to acting school, but I learned more through apprenticeship than anything else.
Right.
And I did a very good job of listening. And, it's interesting because we're all, going through the path less taken. And what better way to navigate than people that have sort of kind of slayed their own way through it,
Right.
So I learned, important information from a lot of important filmmakers, important writers. Slowly but surely, all aspects, started to get better. I mean, you start, working with tremendous writers. Your writing gets better, and it's like you have to be true to yourself. It's like if you see somebody who's got, who's written things that have gone out, across the country, and all you've written are, shorts. Well, maybe you should kind of sit back and, just sit back and listen, or, stylistically pay attention. When you're working with producers who've dealt with studio caliber films, once again, there's a lot to be learned.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I've worked, multiple times with Lance Henriksen on the set. I mean, you can't help but learn when you're on the set with him in every capacity, and so, kind of putting together all these aspects at once has made me the filmmaker I am today.
Nice.
And obviously, I feel like the writing has gotten to a level where I've got the attention of the Regals and AMC's, and the production, the production levels. I mean, it was so funny because I kind of joke around. I did a movie called Monday at 11:01 a.m.
Yep.
And it was the cover of the LA Times, and I joke around because one of the things that we need to be most cognizant of is that the critics are coming for us. They have a job to do, and it's like, don't get upset because we know what their job is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their performance is going to be. And so I remember I was sitting there on the front page of the calendar section on the LA Times, and the critics didn't exactly love my movie, right?
Right.
Okay. And so I looked, there's 2 movies on the cover. Next movie was $100 million movie. Mm-hmm. The criticism, I was like, wow, I think I've made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We're both on the cover of the magazine and they're going after both of us. I felt like I had earned a right of privilege.
Oh, for sure.
So, anyway, so that's sort of like the genesis of like how I wear so many hats, because it's just sort of what you did. And luckily, I put myself in a position where I continue to learn kind of in all aspects. Am I stronger at one or the other? I don't know. Possibly. I love doing them all. And I look forward to continuing to grow. And I hope my next movie comes out in 500 theaters. So.
There you go. And I mean, like you said, it's all about continuing to grow, because we always say, once you feel like you know everything, that's kind of when you get left behind, right? That's when, your peers who you have worked with on either various different projects, or somebody who you are just meeting for the first time on a new film, they'll realize, okay, they're not continuing their learning techniques to where they can implement what's happening in this film into the next film. So it's that type of thing where you have to keep growing as an individual and as an artist to keep moving forward. This podcast is meant for the up-and-comers trying to break into the entertainment industry, so it's very important to know you will fall on your face. You will make bad movies, and you will get critically ostracized by the media every once in a while. Our first film is very mixed reviews because it is a very social justice project where we were talking about gun violence and bullying and mental health and an interracial lesbian couple. And, not every part of the country enjoys that type of content. So especially when it deals with gun violence and a school shooting, when there's school shootings happening in real life. Of course, we're going to get bashed for those type of things. But as creators, we have a voice and a opportunity to tell a story that starts a conversation. And that's what it's all about. So to be able to be put in the position that you are, to where you are able to have a voice, to where you are able to continuing to write stories that start conversations, is very intriguing to a lot of the listeners out there, because it is very important, to be able to feel like you have a voice, because once you feel like you don't, that is also when you get left behind. And that's when you also start making films for the mass audiences, I guess, that aren't layered, right? So talk about that a little bit. How important is it to you to make films that have a deeper meaning than just that first initial layer?
So I got a couple of things I actually want to mention. The first and foremost, maybe the biggest mistake I've ever seen on somebody who's sort of an up-and-comer in any capacity is that they'll make it to a set and they'll be there with some people that have definitely earned their place in entertainment history, Hollywood history. But for some reason, because that this is an entry point, a lot of people kind of lose their groundedness. And you, like you were saying, you do have to kind of know where you're at, you're in the pecking order, and continue to learn. Because as soon as you become, the attitude, it can be off-putting, and then that learning process is going to start real quick, because the industry is small. And, for me, I like to work with what I put together as like a family.
Yes.
And, because filmmaking is very hard, as you know, and, sometimes you need to lean on your family to make things happen. in terms of having a voice in filmmaking, I think one of my greatest strengths is making strong independent, and that's because, like you were sort of mentioning, the studios, they do a great job. You still have to, they're really good at what they do. Like we mentioned, how the critics, people don't like the critics, but that's their job. That's what they do. The studios have learned how to make particular movies, and that's pretty much what they stick to a lot of times.
Yep.
Because that's what they've learned to do. They do them well. Typically high CGI, a lot of superhero type films, or movie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, continue on. As an independent, if you can make strong independent films, you're able to tap into the audience that kind of wants something different, and there is that audience without a doubt. And if you're able to make motion pictures or your art, however, at a high level, you can definitely tap into that. And one of the things I'm most excited about is that I made an independent film that is now going out through an independent distribution company nationally. And it's like, in some ways, I'm just like, it feels like, it was like I just got off the phone with a friend. It's like, this one feels different. Like I've done some pictures, I've worked with some big names, but there seems to be a lot of people getting behind this one, and it makes me feel like you were saying, the audience is craving something different, and what that exactly is. It's probably variety. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what it is, but I'm certainly excited about opening the next door and continuing the adventure, the learning process, like you suggested.
I love that, and I think it's critically important to what you said about the community being small, because once you have a reputation, that's what the entire community knows you as, because this person knows this person who knows this person who knows this person, and if you're a good guy and everybody wants to work with you, that's what they know. If you're a guy who thinks you know everything, that's what they know. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. That's critically important for the people trying to come up in this business to understand it is a very small business and people know. And so you wanted to make sure you're doing it right. I also like what you said, though, and I think there's a reason that this one has gone national and that you're getting a little bit of stuff behind it and some movement behind it. Because, for one, I love the title, Altered Reality, right? That immediately grabs you, okay? And then it's something original. Because like you said, it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We haven't seen, it's not the 10th version of the same film over and over and over again. And I think that that's what independent film is all about. Originality. Doing something that people haven't seen before. So let's talk, because like I said, Altered Reality, it's kind of like a crime thriller, supernatural, time travel, kind of like, is this a good guy, bad guy kind of thing? First of all, talk about the inspiration of where the idea came from, and how did you go about starting that process about, let me think, why do I want to make this film? Was it inspired by something? Was it something in your real life that kind of inspired it? Talk about that, and then just jump in from there about, okay, now I've got my story, now I know how I want to tell it. Where am I going? So start off, though, where did the idea come from? Because it is really original.
Well, thank you. I've always been interested in time. I really feel like time is our most precious gift. And for some reason, a lot of people just kind of disregard it, or they don't find the same importance to it. They just sort of take it for granted.
Right.
And it's like, you could be out there, creating, or you could be out there, I don't know, maybe, pity partying, or, things aren't going your way that day or whatever. And it's like, so the other thing that's always been interesting to me is sort of like the sliding doors aspect. Like, decisions that you make affect your future, and once you make those decisions, you can't take them back a lot of times. It's like you kind of 5 or 10 years from now could have hinged by someone you listened to or didn't listen to you, someone you married, someone you broke up with. Maybe it was your fault, maybe it was that fault. And so that was always such like an intriguing idea to me, sort of like the sliding door events in our life. And then I kind of wanted to play with the idea of time, the past, present, and future all existing at the same time. So, wonder if you did have the ability to go back and change a decision you made, or maybe wonder if you were able to go forward and see the consequences of the decisions that occurred prior. And so that under that backdrop is sort of where this idea came from. And just to give you an idea, like I said, was mentioning before, Monday at 11:01 a.m., you can tell time is intriguing to me, in terms of my other titles as well. But it's interesting because I had this concept for a while. And, when I start writing, I just have to get it out. I can't be disturbed, and I think, it's pretty intense process. In this situation, I locked myself in a hotel room and I got the script out in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of people say to themselves kind of like, that's not possible, or, whatever, or, maybe he's not telling the truth. And in a way, I'm not, because the concept was so solid in my head that it had to go. Now, ultimately, is that what we shot? Of course not. But we had about, a 90-page script in about, 3 days. And when I create the characters, my goal is to create smart, dramatic characters. And I strongly believe that sometimes good people have bad days and can be bad.
Yep.
And I think that some bad people on certain days can be good. So I like putting together complicated characters like that, and then sort of watching them grow as you write more. And so I think that one of the perfect genres is sort of like the sci-fi drama to kind of create that, because you can play with these leaps of faith, these ideas that can still bring the viewer to a certain level of emotion or insecurity or scare or hope even, but you're still bringing a leap of faith.
Right.
So, as long as they're willing to suspend, certain judgment to the end of the film, as long as it's believable, it gives you a lot of elasticity. You can go a lot of different directions, and then, from there, once you kind of get the project together and you get, the interest on the financial backing, really in terms of the actors, I've worked with Tobin Bell before. I've worked with Lance Henriksen before. I know what they can bring. I mean, Jack in this film, Lance, I'm telling you, he's brilliant. Plays it brilliantly. He told me he loved the character. Obviously, tremendous actor. Tobin Bell comes in. Yeah, absolutely. And then Tobin Bell coming in, he plays the attorney in the movie, Cooper Mason. And like a real Wall Street type. And he does it, once again, does it wonderfully. Very different styles, tremendous actors. I think that we brought in multiple other younger actors right now that I think are going to really get attention after this film because of the dramatic presence. And so anyways, but going back to like when you say how the movie starts to kind of grow, honestly, when Aliana Kamara and Krista Dane Hoffman, Krista King, we at the time, I just watched their auditions, and it's amazing how their performances and then the looks sort of match what you're looking for, and it just, I don't know, it just sticks. I can't tell you exactly, how or why, but what's in your head, the vulnerability in Aliana, Krista, who plays a very smart yet maybe not so nice character, Alex Parker. Her, her ability to kind of come off as being like a seductress and a huntress at the same time. I mean, it's just so obvious, so fast that these people can carry these roles, and then you get on a set with them, and with a director like Don Fauntleroy, who has tremendous credits. And I still feel, I tell everybody, he's underrated. I mean, this guy he's got 8 million credits.
Yeah.
And it's, and he just keeps going and going and going. And, you make if you can make a family on that set, you really can make magic. And that's, once again, why it's so important to, make sure you commit to what you can bring to the film, because I think people respect that and look forward to working with that again.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And you talk about making magic, and for us as filmmakers, watching a movie being created in front of our very eyes is magic. And to be an audience member who is just interested in this type of thing, is magic. So to be able to have all of these different dynamics in your film, as far as lust, as far as greed, as far as fantasy, sci-fi, we talk a lot about, how smart is the audience? And as filmmakers, we never really wanted to dumb down things for the audience as well. So when you have a crazy idea, when you lock yourself in a hotel room over the weekend and you have all of these different things coming at you at once, and you're going back to the drawing board thinking about all of these different things, how do you approach it as a filmmaker to try to make it as questful as possible, if that's even a word, or as understanding as possible, right? Because the audience is smarter than what we give them credit for, but then at the same time, we always overthink as filmmakers, and we don't want things to go over their head. So how do you try to do that balance in the sense of trying to tell your story?
It's a very good question, and I'll tell you why. Especially like on a film like Altered Reality, you pretty much know like where you're going to start and where you're going to end, and the issue that you kind of get caught up in is like how you're going to get there. Mm-hmm. And so in a situation like this, you have to be careful, because now the audience is taking a leap of faith with you. At some point, you kind of you have to let them know what's going on, mm-hmm. so that they can get like that full feeling of
right.
of the movie. And so pretty much the question is at what point does that exposition come, and how much do you do? Mm. And, there is no exact science. I can't tell you exactly how the right way to do it is. You're going to have to toy with it, because you will overwrite and then you will underwrite, and then you have both sides are not working. So, right. So what you have to do typically is, for me, and now that I've, mentioned how like you have to be careful with the critics, because not only are, there's critics, but there's going to be people in your circle that are going to be critics just because they don't like that your, movie did anything, let alone, mm-hmm. Got made, let alone, got into a festival or win an award or whatever. But you have to make sure that you have your circle of trust, where if you have somebody take a look, and if they say to you, you know what, I just didn't get it. Like that part I just didn't get. And then you can kind of take that home and say, okay, because when you get so close to it, you're 90 pages or 100 pages in or whatever, you can see the movie being made in a lot of ways as you're writing. And so you do need a third party, whoever that person you trust is, or maybe two people type of thing. But and then you have to be true to yourself and say, let's be able to take critique, because there's a lot of people that don't like to take critique.
Oh, without doubt.
Yeah. And then the next thing you do is you have to make sure, if you're talking with the director, you have to make sure you're on the same page, because if that's not on the same page, a lot of things can happen. The movie that you're trying to make either doesn't get made, or a different type of movie gets made, or basically you just hate each other. And it's like, as soon as everybody starts hating each other on a set, that's not good. That's Titanic.
Well, so I think mission accomplished, because this film, Altered Reality, is definitely smart. It does make you think. It does ask the audience to take a leap of faith with you. And I think you nailed that. And I think the other thing that was done really well is that you can find connectability with the characters, right? I think that's the other thing why people gravitate or run from a film. It's like, can they relate? Are they watching something that they feel like they can relate to? Is there a character in there that I've been through that, or I know somebody that's been through that, or has felt that? And when you, as a writer and then as a filmmaker, when you can establish a character that connects to the audience, I think that's when you really win. That's when you get that word of mouth. That's when you get people backing behind your project and saying, you got to go see this. You got to, kind of a thing, is when you can write characters like that. And just hearing your process about how you put the characters together, and knowing that everybody has got a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, and it's just what kind of a day are you having, and who are you going to show up as that day? That's real life. That's people. That's how we do it. And I think anybody that approaches filmmaking like that is going to see success, which is why I think that you're seeing success. And it's amazing to hear you talk and your thought process on it. And I guess the one question I want to ask, though, is because you did say the butting of the heads sometimes. We said actor. We said producer. We said writer. Director. Do you ever see yourself directing a film that you've written and acting in it? And like, you know, do you see that move behind the camera?
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, would I ever consider directing? I would. Would I direct, produce? I mean, right. I mean, I guess writer director makes a lot of sense.
It does.
But I mean, getting ready to prep for every day and all that kind of stuff. Can I put a pin in that one?
Sure.
To do a lot. I would certainly consider directing, but I don't know, multiple hat, like that many.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I get an extra arm?
Well, you know what? Let's just start off with maybe directing and writing. And then maybe we can do the directing and acting. And then maybe, you know, you can kind of, nobody says you have to jump in on all four hats at once, right?
Right.
Hey, we live in a bundling society as far as the streamers. Maybe one day we can bundle everything together.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you certainly... that's a tantalizing question, and I don't have an answer today.
Hey, it's all good. You at the top of this thing, you said throw you some stuff. I was just curious. You know, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your film. I believe that, you know, it's definitely going to make people think in a world that, you know, things do get spoon-fed to us, and we need to be able to step outside that box and, you know, start thinking about some altered realities.
Exactly.
I'm super excited for everybody to see it and formulate their own opinions. Like you said, everybody's a critic. So it's going to be depending on how they feel that day, apparently. But please be sure to let the audience know where they can follow you, to where they can, you know, keep up to date with the process and the progress of everything, so that they will know where to see the film.
Yeah, absolutely. You can check out alteredrealitymovie.com. You can check out kstreetpictures.com, and the movie's coming out nationally on February 16th.
Fantastic. And AMC and Regal Theaters. So bound to find it somewhere, no doubt about it. And congratulations on that. As indie filmmakers, we know, you know, getting your stuff out there nationally is huge. That is a huge step. So congratulations and continued success on that. And hey, a little shout out, because you also have a couple of our former guests of the show on there with Kayla Adams and the late Ed Asner. So kudos to you. Just two stellar individuals, and so congratulations on them being in the film as well. We just really appreciate you coming on and talking. I think this was a really informative one for our guests. For our listeners. And I love when you come on and you share your process and doing it the right way and how to approach it, because I think it's just so critically important to know that you don't know everything, and it's okay not to know everything, and that it's good to listen, and it's good to ask questions. And anytime we can get somebody that comes on and talks about things like that and has success, you're living proof that you do it, and it gets you benefit, and you keep growing, and you keep getting where you want to go. So thank you so much for coming on and talking with us and everything. And open invite anytime you want to come back. You said the next one, maybe 500 theaters, maybe we go up a little further. Next one you get on there, open invite anytime you'd like to come back and talk to us, man. We'd love to have you.
Listen, I had fun. Anytime you guys need me, just holler.
For sure. Listen, take care, and we will be in touch soon, my man.
Look forward to it. You guys have a great rest of your day.
All right, now.
You too,
take
man.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, right, man. Oh, man. Talk about informative, right? Especially for all those people who are wearing the multiple hats, are being able to pick up the camera, step in front of the camera, do the lighting, like all these things, because there is a lot that goes into it. And to be able to get your film out there, like you said, for big movie chains, that's a big deal. Oh,
absolutely. And you know, it's just, again, we hear this over and over from all of the people that we have on the show. And I hope that all of our listeners out there trying to break into the industry are paying attention. 1, don't have an ego. 2, learn, listen, pay attention, ask questions. And 3, be appreciative of all of that. Be able to take critique, good or bad, and grow from it, because that's how you continue to move forward as a filmmaker, as what you're trying to do. And those three things, I think they're all critical. And the more we hear it, the better it is. So yeah, it's an amazing thing to, and like I said, that person that or like Charles said, I'm all thinking about everything he said when he said, hey, this person holding the light while they're trying to act, and they went on to be series regulars on big stuff. So don't think that there's any time there's something on the set that you're too good for. Oh, I have to hold a light. I'm supposed to be the actor. Well, exactly. Guess what? Because it doesn't mean that you're not going to get that lead role in a series somewhere or a lead role in the film just because you held the light one time. Be appreciative every time you're on a set and you're getting to do what you love. And you'll be solid if you do. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And be prepared to fail, because you are going to fail.
Absolutely.
Your things are not going to be great at first, but that's how you learn. That's how you learn new techniques, and that's how you learn to keep your head above water.
Yep.
Too. That's very important. But yes, thank you again, Charles, for coming on the show. All right, now it is time for the top 5 segment, man. And man, with it being Oscar season, getting ready for the big show, the big ceremony, this week's top 5 is top 5 films that won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our favorites, man. And I mean, some of these on here I hold near and dear to my heart because I have specific memories with those films. And yeah, I mean, it really makes you go back and look at everything, right?
Without doubt. And it's so funny because when I was looking at our lists, there were multiple on yours that I had on mine. And I'm like, okay, let me swap back and forth, because there were so many that I agree with on you. There's not a single one on these 10 that I don't agree with. They're all, there's reasons why they all fucking won Best Picture. Put it that way. They're all fucking amazing.
Exactly. Well, my number 5 goes to Green Book. Of course, everybody compares it to Driving Miss Daisy with Morgan Freeman, but I love this film specifically because obviously driving through the South, and with the company and you and I both being very imprinted in the South, right? The South, the Southern culture and the New Orleans culture has very much played a big part into both of our lives. So to have that kind of be a little bit of a character of its own, and then to just learn more. We talk about all the time how the best form of our best form of education is through entertainment.
Right.
And that's what I learned through this film. There really was a green book for African American people that they could see where they were allowed to stay, where they were allowed to eat, where they were allowed to go during this specific time. I don't remember if it was the 50s or 60s that it was set in. I'm sure, but it was one of those things where, it was a learning experience, and to be able to shed light on situations that are still happening today. And I really put it on my list because this was the first, I believe this was the first year that I started religiously watching the Oscars. Like, I always caught clips here or there, but this specific year when Green Book won Best Picture, I think that was the first year we ever did an Oscar watch party. That was the first year I watched the ceremony all the way through. So specifically that one, that's near and dear to my heart because that started a whole new journey in my life. So yeah, number 5 for me, Green Book.
Well, I agree with everything you just said. Spending the majority of my life in the Louisiana area, Louisiana, South Mississippi, etc. It's certainly, that movie was about, and look, Usher just brought it up. In his little pre-interview before the Super Bowl, he was talking about he went to one of the hotels that was in the original Green Book where performers were allowed to perform in the casinos but not allowed to stay there, and they had to go, that's what the Green Book was, guys, is like Logan said, it was a book that basically told African American people where it was safe for them to stay in areas of the country. And listen, being in that area and spending a lot of time in the area in the South, I can tell you, unfortunately, there are still areas like that where if you're the wrong color, it's not necessarily safe for you to be in. We're still there in 2024. We're still there. And that's pretty sad. But the history of the Green Book and what it meant and how it was, it's a must-see film. And obviously, Vigo and Marcella are like
Oh, yeah.
Man, phenomenal performances by both. It's just, it's unbelievable good film. I'm so glad you had it on the list. My number 5 goes back to a film that we talk about regularly because as filmmakers, you can't not talk about this one. And again, it's another learning history through entertainment. It's about World War II. It's about invasion. It's about what happens in France and saving people and where do you go and how do you do. I'm talking about, of course, Casablanca. It's one of the best films of all time. It's a no-brainer that it won Best Picture at its time because it's one of the best films of all time. So, but it's another perfect instance of a film that makes you look at things from a different perspective. What was the Nazi point of view? What was going on with the French point of view? How were outsiders dealing with it? Where do you set aside love and just focus on war, or is love still relevant? Is it still important? Where do you all these things? I love movies that make you look at things from a different set of eyes and go, oh, you know what? Maybe there was this. Maybe there was that I didn't really see when I'm coming at it like this and only looking at it. And Casablanca is one of those movies for me. It makes you look at a very dark, dreary situation in a different way. And we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on our show. If you can take a movie that's a love story set during World War II. It's a love story set during a war, a nasty war with a lot of nasty stuff. So anytime that you can effectively do that, I think you're a worthy film of Best Picture. So Casablanca, my number 5.
So good. Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Like the best classic that there is out there.
I mean, come on.
Bergman,
so no relation.
No relation.
Damn, I wish she was. I wish she was. That's
yeah.
Damn.
That's so funny. Number 4 for me goes to The Hurt Locker. Man, oh man. Jeremy Renner in this thing, I mean, really showed you what it was like to be a person who adapts to soldier culture, I guess you could say, to where, you feel more at home when you're at war than you do when you're actually at home. The one scene that always specifically comes to mind when I think about this film is when he's standing in the middle of the supermarket looking at cereal, and he's like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yep.
Like, I could be protecting lives. I could be doing this. And then, of course, you deal with all of the PTSD symptoms where, you're an average day Joe basically going through life and you still are thinking about what's happening overseas, what's happening in Afghanistan. So, I mean, that film, I mean, it definitely sheds the light on, what our soldiers go through every single day when they come home. And even after that, 50 years after that, we have so many veterans now that still experience PTSD, fireworks, car explosions. I'm sure that rarely ever happens, but still, you know what I'm trying to say. It's just one of those things where, not enough people think about this type of stuff. Like a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the soldiers coming into the restaurant,
right,
and I was thinking about, how many of them were going to make it out alive, that type of thing.
Yep.
And I feel like Hurt Locker does an amazing job at that. And I always love to get it completely away from like the deep hardcore stuff about, war films. But I always love to when you have a war film that focuses on a different specialty in the war, right? Because he was I don't even know the specific term for it, but he was a person who defused bombs. And like he wore this huge suit like to protect him as much as possible. But it's always interesting to get to learn about those different type of things. But I love The Hurt Locker because that was honestly one of the first ever Best Pictures that I had ever watched in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's special to me as well. I would think I watched that when I was probably like 10 or 11. Probably not when I was supposed to be watching it, but it happens. It happens. But number 4 for me, The Hurt Locker, Jeremy Renner.
There you go. I'm sure Jeremy appreciates the shout out of how old he is too.
Yeah, for sure.
My number 4, speaking of a guy wearing a suit, Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. Now, we talked about this earlier in the show with Alejandro getting Keaton his Oscar for Best Actor. This film, though, I think a lot of people look at it and they tag it very generically as a guy that was typecast as a superhero. And this is not that. This is a stark, dark, harsh look at mental health. This is a man struggling with mental health and deteriorating rapidly. And did he being typecast and not being able to get out of that and being stuck, did that lead to it? Did it bring it to the forefront? Did it do, like, look at it however you want to about what the typecasting as Birdman played in the life of this character. But what it is a look at the journey of mental health that this man was on. And it is told brilliantly through Michael Keaton. It's almost, it comes off as one continuous shot for the entire length of the film. That was done with some trickery. It was actually 4, 5, 6 different shots put together. But it comes across as Michael Keaton seamlessly walking through the entire film in one seamless shot. And so cinematography-wise, writing-wise, directing-wise, acting-wise, everything. But when you are able to tell the story so prevalently and get, I can't even speak right now, a look at mental health and get people talking about mental health, it's so important. It is so important. And this goes back to what we reiterate every week on this show and ties into our other show about mental health and everything's okay. The best way to discuss these subjects is through art, through entertainment. And this film did a brilliant job of that. And I just want to get Michael Keaton, Emma Stone, Edward Norton. Come on. I mean, can you even get a better cast? A phenomenal cast. But if you are looking for a deep, dark story that just takes you inside a man's head and his thought process and how he's trying to deal with life and all the shit that's been thrown at him, this is it. This is the movie you want to sit down and watch because it does it brilliantly. Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. My number 4. Fucking phenomenal film. Have you watched that one yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's so good, right? Like.
Yeah. So good. So good. My number 3 is last year's winner, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think this one specifically was so impactful to me because it was so different in the time of where the entertainment industry was in a rut and still kind of is. But I mean, this film was something so special to where you were able to think about all these different things. And it was like a live action anime. Basically, because the characters that the characters they brought to life and the different scenarios that you go through when, time traveling or alternate reality traveling, like different universes of just being the same you. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a conversation starter. And I mean, that as filmmakers, that's what we want to do. Michelle Yeoh did an amazing job. And then, at the end of the day, it's all about having a relationship with the people around you that you sometimes take for granted. And I think that's something that this film shows beautifully. And I love Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, she killed it. I love that she got an Oscar for it. And Key, our boy Key from Goonies and Loki and fucking
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. I was trying to think of that one with Brendan Fraser. But yeah, it was an amazing film that definitely was so outside of the box that everyone enjoyed. So I love that. So yeah, number 3 for me, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, there you go. I agree with everything. My number 3, I'm not even going to say a whole lot about because we've talked about it relentlessly and we know what I think about it. But I will say this. My number 3 is The Godfather. And the reason I put this on the list, a couple of reasons. One, because like I said about Casablanca, it's one of the greatest films ever made. So it was a no-brainer that it goes on the list of Oscar winners for Best Picture. But it does another brilliant job of, like I said with Casablanca, forcing you to look at things from a different perspective. You felt empathy. You felt compassion for the mob. For the mafia, because it's being told from their point of view of what their life was like and what their day-to-day routine and how they were trying to save who they are and where they come from. And unfortunately, this is the way it was done, and this is how it gets. So any movie that makes you look at something differently from a different point of view and maybe have some compassion for people that you don't normally think of wanting to feel sorry for or having compassion for. This movie does it brilliantly. And remember, when you're watching the story about the making of this, it was one of the conditions is to never refer to them as the mafia. You weren't allowed to refer to them as the mafia in the script. That was one of the conditions from the mafia towards Paramount for making it. Don't call us that. But I think it's a brilliant way to just use art to open eyes and have a different perspective. Because what these people did, while horrible in many instances, was just their way of life. It's it's who they were. It's where they came from. It's how they operated. And in their eyes, family first and surviving and doing. So I don't know, breaking rules, breaking laws, yeah. but you felt empathy and compassion. And that's all I'm going to say. That's why I love this movie. It just, again, opens your eyes and forces you to look at things differently. So I love that.
Yes. Be sure to check out The Offer. That's what.
Yes, The Offer. Oh my gosh,
so good. Paramount Plus. Miles Teller. So many other in that. Freaking amazing film.
Matthew
amazing
Good
show.
Oh
yeah,
he stole the movie. The series, in my opinion. Hey, baby, come on, baby, come on.
Yeah,
he is so good. Fucking so good. I just say, I want to go back and watch that again. Fuck.
I know, so me too. Number 2 for both of us goes to Coda.
Yes.
We talked about this, I believe, last week, because I think I had it on my films that I think would turn into classics. This was something that I felt like was so. It wasn't groundbreaking, but I felt like it was so touching, because you come as an outsider and as an outside perspective into this family and into this situation to where, like, you always have, those scenarios as a parent, I'm sure. And, specifically as a sibling for me, where I'm like, I hope my sibling doesn't have any dysmorphoses, I guess you could say, or like anything that sets them back, or, you want them to have the best possible life that they can. But with this girl being born into a deaf family and she's the only one that can hear, she becomes their saving grace, their shining light, to where they rely on her so much to where it holds her back. So it's kind of like a flip scenario type of thing. But Coda, it's one of those that it makes you think, and it makes you like happy for the ones you have, and your health and your prosperity. It's a beautiful film.
Well, and it does, again, it makes you look at it from a different point. It's so many times, I think, so often that we look at families that have a disability or some sort of impairment or whatever, and we always look at it from their point of view. Oh, it must be so hard being deaf, or it must be so hard being blind, or it must be so hard being an amputee or whatever. We never look at it from the point of view of the people that are having to be in that world and deal with that kind of a thing. And this film does a brilliant job of flipping the narrative. It's like, hey, what about me? My life is fucking hard too, dealing with this and kind of so it did just such an amazing job, but it did it in such an empathetic way that you didn't at any point feel like the deaf family was the bad guys. You just understood also the pain and the struggle that the hearing was going through with that. I just thought it was a brilliant way to, again, just flip the narrative, look at things differently, and come at it with a different point of view. And fucking brilliant job. Number 2.
Agree. And it's also historic because it was the first streaming film that won Best Picture.
Yep.
So Apple, man, killing it. Like we said, they don't have a lot of stuff, but they got that quality. That's for
sure.
Oh man. But number 1, I've talked about so freaking much, so I won't, like you with your number 3, I won't say much about it. But The Departed, it's kind of in the same eyes as The Godfather. The Departed is so good because obviously it has an amazing cast, has a great story of being involved with your surroundings or trying to get out of your surroundings. And it's one of those situations to where, you know, I felt like somebody connected with something in that film. Everybody connected with a little piece of something in that film, because you have somebody in your life who you're like, man, I hope they stay on the straight and narrow. Or you have somebody that you're like, I'm so glad they got out of that situation, are doing better. Like, you know, it's all of these different things. So I think Martin Scorsese did an amazing job, put together an amazing cast. But yeah, number one for me, The Departed. I've probably talked about it so much, I'm surprised I'm not blue in the face, to be honest. So there we go. There we go.
That is hilarious. And, you know, again, though, it goes back to what I was saying is that this is their life. Yeah. You know, so many times when you come up in an Italian family and you're coming from this type of a background, you have two routes. You're going the bad guy route with you're going to become part of the mob and organized crime, or you're going, I'm going to be a cop and I'm going to take down my other family members. And there's no other choice for you. This is your life and you have to pick the path. And I think that it does a great job of showing the realities of that type of a life and that type of a family and that type of an upbringing. Good choice. Good choice. Okay. I am going with my number one and I want to make sure I get names right here because it's absolutely critical that I don't want to get these people's names wrong. My number one, I put this on the list at number one because I think it is a phenomenal job of brilliant storytelling in a way that was so original and so just I can't even describe it. My number one is The Artist. And if you haven't seen The Artist, this is a film about the demise of, the ending to, the silent film era. And it's a silent film. It's a modern day film that's a silent film about the demise of the silent film era. And for me, that was groundbreaking. That is fucking brilliant. Whoever's sitting in the room going, hey, how can we tell the story about the end of the silent film era and moving into talkies? Let's make a silent film. What? I mean, it's so fucking brilliant. You would think, no way. Nobody in the modern day is going to sit in a theater and watch a silent film. It's just, it's unheard of. It's like, no, we got rid of talkies for a reason. I mean, silent films for a reason. We came into talkies because people wanted to hear. And yet, this film, fucking brilliant. It's a silent film about the demise. And I just, Jean Dujardin, I can't even say their names. I'm butchering them. I'm so bad. Berienci Bejo, John Goodman, James Cromwell, Penelope Ann Miller, Missy Pyle, just the entire cast. And there's literally only, if I'm not mistaken, one or two lines of dialogue in the entire film, and it's at the very end. John Goodman delivers one of them. But it's just, for me, I could not think of it. It's shot in black and white. It's just, it's a brilliant way to tell a story about a story. And I just, this one's on my list strictly as a filmmaker, loving an innovative, creative way to tell a story. That's why it's my number one. If you want to know how the silent film industry or era ended, watch this silent film. It's fucking brilliant. You'll be glad you did. I'm just telling you, you'll be so fucking glad you did. It's such a fucking awesome movie. I still, every now and then, just go back and watch it because I'm so engulfed with it. I'm just like, this is fucking brilliant.
I love that. I love that. Well, all good choices. All good choices. Please let us know what your favorite Oscar Best Picture winner is.
Yeah.
Please be sure to leave a comment below in the YouTube comment section. Add us on X or Threads and all the good things. We love the fan interaction. We love knowing different people's opinions. It's always very fun.
We do.
Always very fun. Going over to the Bob Marley. Going over to the box office recap. Bob Marley was number one with One Love.
Yeah, man.
$34 million. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Redemption Song is my favorite Bob Marley song. So when he started playing that around the campfire and all of his family came out, I cried.
So good.
Yeah, like it was a beautiful story, and like I really haven't seen any bad reviews about it at all. So I mean, I had we had heard that from somebody a couple days ago that they're like, oh, saw some bad reviews. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're crazy. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, like we said in the industry news, cinema scores an A. So there were some critics that panned it, but the critics were fucking wrong.
Exactly.
The audiences loved it, and it's a fucking great film. So I don't know what these critics watched, but I don't know.
Exactly. But I'm very critical on biopics, and this is the best biopic I've ever seen. I loved how they paced it. I loved how you knew what time period they were in their life. Pacing is a big thing for me, specifically in biopics. Like, if you don't know at what point they are in their lives, like how old they are or what year it is, like everything kind of gets lost into one thing. So I mean, I thought they explained time periods very well in this film. But yeah, I loved it.
And it's so visually appealing. For me, the symbolism of when he's emerging from the fire, basically cleansing himself and finding himself in the world and who he is and who he wants to be by emerging from the fire. Every time they showed that shot, I was just so like, this is so powerful, because this is truly what this man is doing. He is emerging from the ashes of this fire of his life and making a difference in the world and finding who he is. And it's just, the symbolism was brilliant storytelling.
Agreed. Number 2 was Madam Web with 18 million. Number 3 was Argyle with 5.8. Number 4 was Migration with 5 billion, and number 5 was Wonka, still holding on strong with 4.3.
Yeah.
New movies coming out this week. I mean, Ordinary Angels, Drive Away Dolls, Drugstore June, Anyone But You, The Valentine Encore, because it's been so popular, and a new Demon Slayer film, Misto no Yabiya.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Sure.
Movies you can still go see right now: Lisa Frankenstein, The Beekeeper, Mean Girls the Musical, Night Swim, and Aquaman: Lost Kingdom. But that's, I think, about it either just did or about to pop up on Max. So that's when I'm going to watch that one.
Yeah.
Heading over to IMDbPro's top trending segment. The top trending movie is Madam Web. I'm sure because so many people were hating on it across the freaking internet all weekend long. The top trending show is True Detective, and the top trending star is Vanessa Kirby. All of these make sense, especially if you've listened to our industry news. So yeah, man. I mean, rocking and rolling.
Because the name is not. It's not a name that immediately pops into your head. Vanessa Kirby, like you were like, I don't think I've seen anything. And then, oh, wait, yes, I have. I've seen her in a time. So I bet there was a lot of people like you going, Vanessa Kirby, Invisible. Vanessa Kirby. She's that person. Like, I just think that's why she's probably trending number 1. It was a bunch of people trying to figure out who Vanessa Kirby was and then realizing they knew all along who the fuck she was. It's like, oh, that one. So good for her. I'm glad. She's a brilliant actress. I'm glad she's going to be thrust into the limelight because she deserves it.
Oh, for sure. Well, we got to thank our guest one more time, Charles, for coming on the show. Man, oh man,
yes.
Be sure to check out his film in select theaters. I mean, that's really awesome as an indie filmmaker to be able to have your film released in theaters
nationwide.
That's a dream. That's a dream come true, man. That's a dream come true. Be sure to follow the company on social media at Crazy Ant Media and the podcast at ITCAF Podcast. And you guys know you can follow our mental health podcast as well at Everything's OKP. We just had an episode come out this past week about anxiety. So be sure to check that out as well. It was a very, very good episode.
Oh, without doubt.
And you guys know you can follow us both personally on social media. Myself at J. Logan Austin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
That's right. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please be sure to hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest coming out of Crazy Ant Media. But man, oh man, I freaking love that. Way back when we first started the show, we reported that this comedian named Shane Gillis, his household name now, got fired from SNL after basically a week because he did say a racial derogatory term on a podcast, but he's a comedian, so take it or leave it. People make mistakes.
Yep.
But I love, even after he got fired, worked his way back up, did YouTube specials, and like went on tour with all of these different comedians who took a chance on him. He is now back where he got fired, and he will be hosting Saturday Night Live the night of this episode dropping. So, I mean, talk about a comeback story, man. I'm so excited for him and so happy for him.
Yeah, it's all about redemption, man. People make mistakes in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just do stupid things. The heat of the moment, you say something you know you shouldn't have said, but you said it. And, you know,
well, especially like as comedians, you know, you're trying to throw stuff at the wall to see what
I mean,
sticks.
Jesus
and,
Christ, could you even imagine Don Rickles or Rodney Dangerfield or Richard Pryor even in today's society? They would have been canceled in half a second. They fucking said all kinds of racial and sexual horrible shit. They made a living off of it, and and it was acceptable back then, but now it's not. You know, and yeah, I mean, you know, listen, I like a good redemption story. I like somebody to say, hey, my bad, shouldn't have said that, but I'm a decent person who made a mistake. Can I please have a second chance? Can I redeem myself? James Gunn's one of those people. I mean, come on, literally. Remember, he was fired and back and boom. So, yeah, come on, people. Give, you know, of course, I'm not saying everybody. There are some people out there that don't deserve a second chance and don't deserve no return. You have evil people in the world. But when you're a genuinely good person who makes a bad decision, makes a mistake, we can't just write people off, y'all. We are a better society than that. We are better human beings than that. Let's have some compassion. Let's show some love to people. Give them it. And yeah, I'm right there with you. What a way to end. That's, you know, that's good.
I know, right? I mean, we're all about a redemption story. And everybody, after listening to this episode, be sure to watch the SAG Awards on Netflix exclusively tonight as well.
Yes.
I'm very excited about that to see how that's going to be because, I mean, Netflix having an award show, that's very interesting, right?
It certainly is. Are we going to make a transition to streamers? Will the Oscars ever show up on Disney+?
Ooh.
Think about that. Disney Plus and Hulu, you know, like a simultaneous broadcast. It's possible.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl was on Paramount Plus. I mean, are we headed there? And could that be the savior for the ratings? I mean, you know, I'm just saying. It's possible.
All things are possible. Like Kevin Garnett said, all things are possible. But man, oh man, we love the one, the only
Oprah!